All right, so today we're talking about making shapes look three-dimensional. So if you can imagine a cake, it's a cylinder, and a cylinder from the top looks kind of like a circle. So if I have, let's say this little guy right here, this is kind of a cylinder if you look at the top. So from the top, it is rather circular. But if I start turning it away from us and I'm looking at it from the side view, this circle on top looks more like an oval if I'm going to draw that. And then this here, since this is smaller than this is, it looks like it's kind of going up and then circling around like an oval, or almost like a C, just kind of clamped on there. So we're going to be using that idea to make a cake, a layered cake, and also make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. So this paper is kind of tall, so I'm going to be shifting it as I go. I'm going to start towards the top of my paper, and I'm remembering that I'm making a cake, so maybe I want to have something sitting on top of my cake. So I'm going to move the top of my cake down just a little bit. So maybe I have candles coming out, maybe I have something stuck on top. You decide what that's going to look like. This is why you might want to start in pencil first, because it's easier to erase lines that we don't necessarily need. I'm just going to make mine a regular cake so you can see. So I'm going to start with kind of like an oval shape, and I want to make it kind of wide. This is going to be the width of the first layer of my cake. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to make an oval. All right, from there, what I want to do is I want to start to have the edges of it. So I'm going to have a straight line down and a straight line down. Now here, it's going to go parallel to this line. So there is the same line, it's just farther down. So I'm going to make that line. Oops. So it kind of does the same thing. Now the next one, I feel like there's something under there. The next one, the next layer anyway, this oval is going to be there, but I'm not going to see all of it because it's being overlapped by this one. So I'm going to start back here and make that oval. Same thing, I'm bringing this down, and then I'm making that line parallel to the other line. All right, now this next one I'm going to do just a little bit differently because I want to show that this next layer of the cake has been cut. So I'm going to start here, but I'm going to stop right about there. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring it in and stop. I'm going to make a triangle. And now I'm going to bring the line down and the line down and a line down and one from the center. I'm not going to bring it all the way, just a little bit. And then I'm going to make this line be the same length as this one. I'm going to start by making this parallel line between the two because I think I need to grow this one a little bit. If I'm noticing this kind of swings out, this is going to swing out. So I'm going to make this line grow down just a tiny little bit more, which means this line needs to grow down. This becomes parallel to this. Now, I'm going to bring this, and I'm going to have this line be parallel to this line. This line is parallel to that line. Now maybe I want some frosting on the inside. So if I want to show those layers, I'm making more parallel lines. So those lines go in the middle and they go parallel to that original line. There you go. Now maybe I want to put a plate on there, or I want to put a table, or both. So the plate is maybe going to be circular, so it's going to be the same idea. I'm going to bring it out and around, and there it is. Now, there's my plate. Maybe I want to put a table. A table is just going to be a straight line, the edge of the table. All right, there it is. There's my cake. All right, so maybe I want to put some decorations on it. Let's start at the top. Maybe I want to put in some frosting, and I want to have it dripping down, something like that. Maybe I want to have some candles in there. I could put the candles on. This is where it's a good idea to have a little bit in pencil first before you start making your lines permanent, because if I want a candle, I'm gonna have this line in the way. Or maybe I wanna make this into a unicorn. So I wanna have, you know, the horn is going to be here, maybe the ears are going to be here, and maybe I'll have these be some eyes. Maybe this is gonna be a snowman, so I'll be putting eyes and nose and buttons and things like that. You can design your cake however you want to. You can be your own professional cake decorator. I actually wanted to be a cake decorator when I was about 4. And then I decided I was gonna be an art teacher, kind of the same. Here you go. So now I'm gonna finish up some more frosting. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and find a white crayon now that I have all my decorations and I have them in something a little bit more permanent and standing out, not just pencil. So either Sharpie, marker, something like that. Here we go. I'm gonna take a white crayon now, and this is kind of fun because this is gonna show up when we do our watercolor. I'm gonna think of some patterns that I wanna add into the background behind my cake, like a wallpaper or bricks or something like that. So I want this to show a little bit more depth in there by having something behind my cake. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna push kind of hard and maybe even go over it a few times so I have something showing up behind my cake. Now I'm not gonna go over my cake, so I have to be careful. Now I can kind of see the lines here. All right, so I know you can't really see it, but there's a design behind the cake. There's my cake. It looks three-dimensional, even though it's very flat. And now I'm gonna get those awesome watercolor paints that I got the other day. There should be a brush on the inside. There's different colors for each of us. It doesn't really matter which ones you have. And then you also need a little bit of water. So let's bring these in so you can see what we're doing. Now, since this is crayon, it's going to resist the paint. So here we go. That crayon, that wax in the crayon, and the water just kind of don't mix. So I'm gonna wake up the paint. Of course, this is watercolor, so I need lots of water, and I'm going to paint in my cake and the background. All right, so once you're done painting all of your cake, you're going to put it off to the side. This is what it looks like here, just a little bit there. And now one thing I was noticing when I was painting it, I really could have and probably should have put in some sort of pattern on maybe my plate and my table with the white crayon also. It just would have added a little bit more interest into it, but I didn't. I was in a hurry, I guess. So I can always add something in later with some oil pastel, but we're not done with this yet. We're gonna be doing a lot more to this later. Put this off to the side. If you have any parts that are kind of bleeding into other parts like I did, I just took that paper towel and I just kind of blotted it up a little bit. If you need to add some more color in, you can. Don't wipe it, because wherever you wipe, it's going to go. It's going to follow that paper towel, so be really careful. Take this and put this off to the side, and we will continue with this tomorrow or another art time. Okay, so today we're getting out our cakes. They should be nice and dry by now. They might be a little crinkly like this one is. Don't worry about it. You can take it and you can just kind of pull on it on the back, or you can use your table to kind of straighten it out. But we can get it straightened out eventually. It's not a big deal.
So mine is completely dry, and we're going to kind of step it up a little bit, if you will, with our space and value. We're going to get this to look really three-dimensional by adding in all sorts of value in here. So when we look at objects, we notice the shadow in it. So here's that object I had before. So if I'm looking at this, and this is that cylinder, and I turn it to the side, I'm noticing that the top is a little bit different than the edge, and then this little ledge here is a little bit lighter. The light is coming and bouncing off the top and hitting here, but it almost looks like steps or like rings of different color in here. Here I have it's nice and light, and then the edges, even though it's a black object or has black liquid in it, I can still see there's shadow in there. So I'm gonna get it to look like it's rounded on the cake by using the same ideas and same places where I see value and shadow on the actual object. We're gonna be using oil pastels. And so I have in the room, I have this huge tub, and in each of the buckets is a color. Now I don't need all of the colors. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over to the cart. I'm gonna help myself to the colors that I do need. I'm only gonna bring those back to my table, because otherwise if they fall on the floor and get stepped on, they're kind of a big mess, and I don't wanna have to clean that up. So you're going to make sure that you're only taking the colors that you're pretty sure you're gonna need. So I'm gonna start now. I'm lucky because I'm the only one in the room at the moment, so I can use whatever I want. But I have red up here, orange, yellow, green, blue, and then purple, and then all these other colors down here. So I'm gonna start at the top of my cake, and I'm gonna find a color that will go with that. So I have red. Now I could use blue, I could use purple, I could use other different colors. I'm gonna get the sides of this cake to be a little bit darker. So I have a darker color, and I'm gonna go in now on the side, and I'm just gonna bring this down, just like this. And I'm gonna bring it around the edge a little, and maybe a little bit like that. Now, I could take and smear it with my thumb. I could leave it just like that. I might leave it like this for just now and then come back in here. When I have two objects that are sitting on top of one another, this object is going to block some of the light from this object. So it's naturally going to have just a little bit of a shadow coming in and around this part where they meet. So, you know, almost like if I have my fingers together, whoops, if you can see that, there's shadow in between my two fingers, just like that. So I'm going to find a color that's a little bit darker. Could be a brown, could be a green, could be a blue, purple, and I'm going to go ahead, could be black, but be careful. That's a very strong color. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit of color just down below that. So it starts to look a little bit like it has a shadow, like it's just kind of sitting there. All right, the next one is, this is light, remember, because that's where the light is hitting. We already got a little bit of shadow on it. So I'm going to start getting some shadow going down the side. So I'm going to use green for that, since I know that the green is kind of the next color. The yellow won't look very dark as it goes down. So I'm going to find a green, and I'm going to do the same thing I did here, but I'm going to do it here now. Again, I could smear it or I can leave it. I'm going to leave it for now. And then I have the bottom part right here where it's going to get darker again. Oops, I forgot this part. Let's get some color in here. Let's get some shadow in there. I'm going to find a blue. I could use purple too. I'm going to start with blue here and just see what that looks like. I can always layer my colors if I want to. All right, that looks good. That looks like a shadow to me. Now I'm going to go ahead and get some more shadow down this way. Since I have blue in my hand, I'm just going to go ahead and stick with it. All right, so now this is the basic, the basic colors that I put in. I could even layer my colors. Let's say this isn't dark enough.
Maybe I want to layer in some colors in throughout here. Maybe I want to add in some yellow to even just get it to look a little different. See what that looks like. Maybe some yellow up and through here. So it's kind of like that frosting color. Or, like I said before, you could take it and you could smear it. I'm going to start layering some more of my colors, just a little bit more. I like layering. It's kind of like painting. And actually, a lot of artists will argue that you are painting if you're using oil pastels, because it's kind of like paint in a stick form, almost like our quick sticks. And I just noticed I forgot to do down here. I'm going to see shadow where it's touching the table or the plate. I'm going to see a little bit of shadow on this side also. I'm going to make this side just a little bit darker, and I think I might get one color just to kind of make this whole side a little bit darker. So I'm thinking about which color I think would be best, and I think I'm going to try a blue, and we'll see what that looks like. Remember, you have permission to peel these if necessary. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to lightly put some shadow going all the way down here. I'm not really pushing very hard with the pastel. I just want to get enough in there so it starts to look like a little bit of a shadow. I'm not scribbling, but I'm adding some color in. So you can see now it looks like it's actually going in, like I cut that piece out so that I could eat it. I'm going to see a shadow under here, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that red again. As it's just a little darker. I'm layering it. I like to layer. So I'm putting a little bit of blue on there too. All right. Okay, so here we go. Now you have a whole bunch of other things you could add a little bit of value to. I could add a little bit of value going underneath the frosting so that it actually starts to look like that frosting is 3D, because when I put frosting on, it's a thicker layer. So here, I'm going to take some orange and I'm just going to go kind of underneath just a little bit, following that line. Okay, it's getting there. Where else could I add it? Maybe I could even add a reflection in. Remember the reflection, like here, this is the super shiny object. I might see some, if this is a nice sheen off of the frosting, I might even see a little bit of a lighter area in throughout some of this, so I could find a white. Now, if it's dirty like this one is, don't worry too much about it, but you might even want to get a piece of paper just to kind of get rid of some of that other color on there. So maybe I'm going to see a little bit lighter section kind of coming in throughout here. Just like a line, just a sheen. Follows that same sort of shape as the cake started off with. That one was dirty. That's okay. I just didn't mix my frosting well enough, I guess. Something like that. Maybe I'll even see something coming down here a little bit more. And here as well, just a little bit of a sheen. All right, so now I have the dark side and I have the lighter side. I want to make this lighter here. All right,
You can add in more things on the top. Maybe you want to have other patterns, other decorations. I was going to add in some more decorations onto the tablecloth underneath here, so you can go ahead and you can do something like that. Otherwise, you're done. Make sure you put your pastels back in their appropriate cups and wash your hands with some soap and water. You're gonna need soap to get this off. I would recommend too, maybe taking a dry paper towel first and rubbing them off, and then go ahead and show this to Mrs. Nugent so she can see it. We'd love to hang these up in the hallway. And I think that's it for now. I guess we'll see you the next art time. Nice job.